Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is the architect of transactions, corporate law, confidence, and closing. We are with us Tanvi Kumar, partner at Khaitan and Company. With over 15 years of experience advising high stakes corporate transactions, Tanvi has been consistently recognized as a notable practitioner by IFLR 1000 and was awarded Star Woman Lawyer of the Year by LegalEra in 2021. But beyond a deep knowledge of deal making, she brings thoughtful leadership, a commitment to client success, and a passion for growing with purpose. And she's one of India's top legal minds in mergers and acquisitions and private equity. Let's dive deep into a remarkable journey, both inside and outside the boardroom. So, welcome Tanvi to today's coffee conversation.
Thank you for having me.
So, let me explain you. There are three rounds: professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire where you will be in the hot seat, like you had coffee with Karan. So here's the inspiration, Legal AI 101. Because in mergers and acquisitions, transactions, AI is very important. Okay, so let's begin. Friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation, legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal startup SMEs, world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So my first question, Tanvi, how has the journey shaped up and what are the key defining moments you had?
So I think the journey has been, if I have to just look back in the last 15, 16 years, it's been a journey of hard work. It's been a journey of resilience. It's been a journey, of ups and downs, unexpected turns. And I feel that every day is a new day. At some point of time when I started my career as a lawyer, at Khaitan. I've always been at Khaitan from the time that I was an intern. And every day seemed like a new challenge. Of course, the challenges kept changing. And earlier, in the first year, my challenge would be, just getting the most important email that I thought of my life out to now, building clients, trying to do more innovative deals. So it's a new challenge every day. It involves a lot of hard work. But at the end of the day, I think it's been a very fulfilling journey. I think one of the most defining moments for me was actually the partnership at Big Law, which is, I feel that it's an assessment of not only your legal acumen, but as a professional overall. Because at least when you get to that level, you are looked in through and through in terms of your personal relationships, your what you bring on a deal, how practical you are. At the same time, are you looking at all the legal risks? Are the clients happy with you? What are your potential in terms of book building? So everything comes into play, and in some ways, once you cross that, it's a validation of there being, you ticking the boxes. But I would also say that it's a starting point, because the challenges completely change, and you literally start from the drawing board then. So I think that's a defining moment. It really sort of brings in a lot of responsibility, as well as a lot of potential and opportunity for you to grow. And it's about tapping that and making the best of it.
Wow. So I've seen a couple of coffee speakers who have stayed with law firms, like they've become a business family. You have one of them, Orko Mukherjee from JSA, Nandini Gore, 35 years at Karanjawala, Kinjal from Solomon. So my question is, 15 years in one law firm and becoming a partner, what made you stay at Khaitan? What's that one factor? And who's that motivation
Almost,
in at Khaitan who made you stay there?
I think this is a recap of my partnership interview almost. But but I think the answer has always been the same. And I think for me, the most important aspect is the culture. I think that really, really impacts, and is a differentiating factor for me. You make one place your home because you're aligned with the culture. So it is my home because I really, really resonate with the culture. It's a culture of uh, enhancing each other's capabilities, of creating opportunities for each other, of inculcating the right values, of mentoring, and being happy to see the other person's success. And that's the culture that I subscribe to, and that's what's kept me where I am.
Okay. So reliving your partnership interview. Okay. Good, good. We'll discuss later things. That will be off. A, this is another topic, but it will be just wanted to understand, but not related to coffee. It will be. So let's dive deep into the conversation. M&A and PVC work often involves high pressure and tight deadlines. How do you manage the pace and still deliver excellence?
I think I think the key to an M&A transaction or any sort of a transactional work from a corporate law point of view is a simple rule that I think I've been trained in. As far as my mentor goes, who's really sort of inculcated transaction management as a key attribute to success. And that is basically three steps. One, it's anticipating. Number two is preparing. And the third is implementing. For any deal making, I feel the more you're able to anticipate, preempt issues, preempt solutions, preempt what the next deliverable is going to be, not only for tomorrow, but next week at milestone one, at milestone two, the more prepared you are. So that's therefore you come to the next step if you've done the first one. And then it's about preparing well for that. And once you reach that stage, you're already so prepared that implementation comes naturally for you. So I think it's basically these three steps. If you implement it in any work stream that you do in an M&A transaction, I think 90% of your work is done. The other thing is also personally, I feel that trying to be ahead of the curve or ahead of the game compared to everybody else on the deal. And when I say everybody else, I don't mean your team or your organization. I mean in a deal where there is another, a lawyer from a counterparty, it's your own client, it's the counterparty principal, it's the investment banker, it's the financer. So from everybody's perspective, if you are doing your best to be ahead of the game, I think you will always shine.
Wow. Okay. So my next question, what's your personal playbook when it comes to navigating client relationships and building long-term trust?
I think it's slightly complex, I would say, than a simple playbook, because it involves relationships, and that's how I see business development or client relationship. It's like any other relationship where it's not about. Firstly, it's about looking at long term. So it can't be, at least for me, when it is about really inculcating and building clients and retaining clients, it's about not being transactional. It's not that I'm going to give them a call once I hear about a deal happening which they are involved in. It's about keeping them in my mind at all points of time, which means that even if I'm not doing nothing and I'm not representing them on any matter, but I come across something which may be of relevance to them, to pick up the phone and speak to them about it, to be regularly entrenched in what's happening, in what they are doing, on where I can add value, on where somebody else in my firm could add value. And I think, we were always talked about being the trusted advisor, etc. But I've seen, like, people who I really look up to in my organization, actually even evolving from that role. Not only at being just a trusted advisor, but actually being somebody who is literally a part of the client's organization. I mean, they literally treat you, once you reach that stage, they treat you as their own. Often, like, the biggest compliment that I get, and I've got that multiple times, is when my clients tell me, oh, but we don't even feel that you're a lawyer. We feel that you are a part of us. You know more about us than we do. So I think that's what, is long-term client retention and business development all about.
Wow. Okay. How do you see transactional liability insurance playing a larger role in Indian M&A deals?
I mean, I've been involved on transaction liability insurance from the time that it was not that common, or it was common only in a particular type of deal making. And I think the product has really evolved over a period of time. Right now, it's one of an important and a viable option to deal making, which where we have situations of a willing buyer, a willing seller, an agreed upon valuation, but some differences in terms of how they see risks. That gap being bridged by this product. I see earlier as I mentioned, we used to see that, when you see that being used more in the context of, let's say, tax risks, or then it involved into even M&A risks, but involving, let's say, a particular type of player like a PE or a financial sponsor. But now I'm seeing the product being used, even by strategics, by big Indian corporate conglomerates. So I feel that, it's a good tool of deal making. It's an efficient tool, and it's not simply just a solution on paper, because I actually see now situations where claims will be paid. So it's not just something on paper. You're paying for value, and that's why I think it brings a lot to deal making in India.
Wow. So let's go memory down the lane. Can you walk us through a deal that was particularly complex or memorable, and what have you learned from it?
So I think the one deal that I would want to talk about is my client Inbrew Beverages acquisition of brands and business from United Spirits. So obviously we had a very controversial counterparty, with everything that had gone with United Breweries, with United Spirits, with the promoter. And so in some ways, as buyers as well as lawyers, who are meant and trained to be risk averse, it becomes like a nervous point, to be dealing, with somebody who has a historical baggage. So then to structure a deal which had certain issues, finding structural solutions. So that was, I think, challenging. And so it had regulatory challenges, it had issues around IP, it had issues around financing. So we had like a team of maybe 40 lawyers working on that transaction. But I think the most important learning that I had from that transaction, besides obviously technicals and other things, is assessing, parties' risk profile. And I think now we've started applying that to a lot of other complex deals where, early on and during our discussions, we try and gauge the pain points and the bright lines as far as different parties go. And that really helps a lawyer sort of maneuver around and give solutions which work for everybody. So I think that is one deal learning, at least personally from me, which I can actually implement, and I have been implementing on other complex deals as well.
Wow, beautiful. Okay. So, Tanvi, you have done executive programs at ISB and Columbia. What inspired you to return to learning, and how has it helped shape your approach to law?
So I think learning, personally, I'm a firm believer of learning being a lifelong journey. So it's not about going back to college or going back to a course. It's about finding something where you want to extend yourself a little more about, and then actually going and learning about it and having no qualms that, I still have to sort of attend classes. I have to submit my assignment on a particular date. If I do not submit my assignment on a particular date, then I do get it counts on my assessment. So you have to drop all of that inhibitions, make that as a priority, and have no qualms about learning. And I think what really triggered me, particularly for these two programs, was that, I had started getting appointed as director, on some companies, smaller companies. But I was getting to that. Of course, I already knew the legal aspects around directors and their duties and how they have to conduct. But when I actually started attending some of those meetings, I found myself very short of experience. So I mean, I did not want to be on that table without having anything to say. So, which is why I chose this program from ISB on board effectiveness, which was actually simulation. So, it was about teaching what is required, what is expected of you, and then having simulations about, being in a board meeting. This is the case, this is what has happened in this company. How will you conduct, let's say, in the board? How will you conduct yourself in an audit committee? So, I think, and that was one. And I think what it opened me to was also a fabulous cohort of participants who had come from different walks of life and had something, to contribute. So, so that was why I chose this one. And the course on Columbia was just an extension of the work I do. So that was a course on M&A and PE. But again, the reason why I chose it was that the course went beyond the legal aspects. I was just doing the law part of it, but that course was meant around commercials, on deal making, on how other players think about it. So that's the reason why I took that course, and I think both of them have been good experiences. And I would really encourage people to think about extending their learning journey.
That's beautiful. Wow. So I've run coffee with a mentor my board. They're into independent directors and creating, mentoring women and others to become independent directors. So I did with Apna Neha, co-founder, and Divya Movaya. So I'm planning to do on board effectiveness, inviting one of them and you and other about board effectiveness. Okay, what goes into that? A very beautiful board effectiveness. Wow, powerful title it is.
No, and it is very relevant because it's
Yes.
not, I mean, when I attended that course, that wasn't the end of it. I obviously involved myself on other forums as well, where we were talking about women directors and, exchanging. We had recently done something which was led by, our DEI initiative, as well as Ladies Who Lead with Nena Kidwai. So again, we were talking about all situations around, your seat at the board. And I feel the conversations keep changing, so it's an evolving topic.
Yeah. Look forward to a lot of insights coming in that conversation. So good thing I will have one female and one male to come on, and that will be audio interesting conversation. Okay. Next question. What is one key mindset shift that help you transition from associate level work to a leadership role, that is as a partner?
I think the one thing that has really changed is essentially, I would say, how you look at again, because when you look at the role of an associate to your role as a partner, of course there are two distinct things which are additional attributes which are required, to my mind, when you're talking about acting as a partner. Number one thing is leadership, and number two is client development. Otherwise, from the day to day work, of course your work will start getting more sophisticated, but ultimately it's about legal work. And I think both of these aspects, whether it's leadership or it's about client development, both of them are very relationship centric. So the one thing I would say that has changed my perspective is paying a lot of attention to relationships and looking at one's conduct with different stakeholders for a long-term association. So whether it is internal, which is with my fellow partners, and acting in a way and trying to create synergies which eventually lead to long-term relationships, as well as with my external, external stakeholders like my clients or intermediaries. So as long as you can, and it's not always about what I can gain probably from a particular person, it's about what you can give. And once you start giving, you'll find that opportunities will keep coming to you. So I think that's one thing that has been a difference in terms of just thought process.
Wow. So, how is AI, technology, and legal tech impacting your work as an M&A and transaction lawyer, and your experience in using different legal tech tools? Like I've heard by Khaitan has come up with their AI tool, Kia. Then there is other tools you all are using, apna PDF, then apna LegalEra compare, so other tools. So let's see, okay, what is your experience?
So I would say that, look, I think in terms of some of these products like Litera and all, we've been using for a period of time. So now, in some ways, they have become a part of our SOPs. So if I've done a document, I will do a Litera check before it's sent out, right? But those are more administrative. I think the bit that is the game changer is the generative AI part. And whether it is our internal Kai or some of the other platforms like ChatGPT, etc. Of course, as lawyers, we have to be conscious about what we are using for what, and we're not disclosing or compromising confidentiality, etc. But as long as you're putting that filter, some of these generative AI tools are extremely helpful. So you could have like a 500-pager agreement, which ordinarily would have taken me 5 days to review. But now I can get at least the key points on certain aspects that I want, using these tools. So in some ways, if something comes to me one day before and I have a meeting tomorrow on it, it's really, really useful to sort of prepare. Obviously, it does not, supplement hard work and, putting in the actual time to review a document. But I'm saying for these kind of pressure situations, it's a helpful tool. And, we've done our checks in terms of generating something and then eventually comparing it to something that we produce after doing, how traditionally we would have reviewed. And the results have been very satisfactory, frankly, out of these tools. So I would say that, you could find many, many use cases. And the more, younger lawyers, experienced lawyers use it, they will find their work becoming much more efficient. So
Very,
there's no choice but to use these, I feel.
it's very true. Okay. Uh, so, Tanvi, how you see, sorry, how have you seen the M&A landscape in India evolve over the past decade?
I think, and let me maybe just rewind back maybe 15 years and think about it. But I feel that from then to now, the market has matured quite a bit. So if I was, let's say, practicing as an associate or a senior associate in 2010 or 2015, the way that I would visualize or I would perceive some of my counterparts in international law firms functioning, I think we are at that level right now. So I when I today interact on deals with my counterparts in a magic circle firm or a US law firm, I don't see a lot of difference in the way of working, in terms of the kind of issues we are talking about. The bit that I feel that there is a difference, and that's where we are maturing more, is presentation. So I think, and that's where I feel that AI actually brings, value. But I think in terms of overall the market, it's a matured market. It's a market with more deal value as well as volumes. You will find much more innovative structures being used. You would find maturity in the way sellers and buyers look at issues and risks. It's a more matured and an evolved regulatory environment. So some of the smaller things that you kept worrying about, 10 years or 15 years back, are, you have solutions to them now. So I think it's in some ways, it's an evolved market. And I think the way that our economy is working, it's a proof of, how the M&A market is also.
Wow, beautiful. So, Tanvi, uh, mentorship or firm-wide initiatives played a role in shaping your journey. What advice would you give to law firms nurturing the Gen Z lawyers or the next generation lawyers?
So I mean, I don't want to advise law firms. I think they have, especially the big law firms or top tier law firms have, very sophisticated training systems now, in terms of younger lawyers. So, they have everything from, administrative parts to, how your day should look like, to how you should interact, how you should conduct yourself. So I don't want to comment on any of that training. But I think on some of the softer aspects, what I would message out to, newer entrants, besides legal knowledge and besides all of this that they could think about, are a couple of things. So number one, I feel that, sometimes they lose sight and the art of reading the room. The earlier you sort of learn that, it's better, because it'll help you with your dynamics with your juniors, with your seniors, with your clients. So reading the room, to my mind, is very important to really understand who wants what. And so that's one thing. I think secondly, it's about understanding different work styles. It's not enough that you get an email from your partner to do XYZ, you've done XYZ and you've sent it. But really understanding that, okay, if the same thing was given to my counterpart, what would that person have done? What is it that my partner is actually looking for? Why has this work been given to me? So,
Mm.
understanding working styles, I think, is the second thing. I think, and the third thing is, I would say that, look at and think about very clearly on short term and long term goals. And long term goals does not mean that I want to be a partner. Long term goals means that today I am doing, let's say, diligences, or I'm just doing documentation work. What are the kind of deals I want to be involved in? What do I want to train in? How do I want to become a better lawyer? What are the clients I want to service? If this firm that I'm working with is servicing 3 clients on this sector, but actually I want to target the biggest fund in this sector, then how will I break through? So, some of those kind of things which are much more specific, is the earlier you kind of start thinking about that, I think the steeper your trajectory is going to be.
Wow. So you answered my next question also. So this is what happened in the coffee corner. Some questions get added, some questions get deleted. So let's go to the next round and understand Tanvi as a person, as it is coffee conversation. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
So, I come from a professional, from a family with professional background. My father being a chartered accountant, my brother now a chartered accountant again. So, it's always been a culture of learning, and which is why you would have seen that it's always about, at least I put a lot of emphasis on learning itself as being a goal. So, so that was the environment, let's say. There was a lot of, therefore, impetus and stress on focus on academics. So that was, and focus on academics as well as excelling. So my parents made sure that, we're doing well in all our exams, on all our tests, we are doing, extras and all of that. I think my mother had a great influence. I think she has had a great influence on my working styles. So when I talk about preparedness, I still prepare for a negotiation like how I used to in school for an exam, with my notes and, going through everything. I've done once in the evening before 9 o'clock in the morning. If there's a meeting, I will get up at 6 o'clock and prepare, because that's just how I'm wired, since school, that, we would get up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning and revise for a test. So that's exactly how we've been, trained.
Wow. Good. So let's go to your college days, ILS Law College. Why did you select to go to this college? How was the experience and what are your memories?
So I think me becoming a lawyer and going to this college was serendipity. I was not meant to be a lawyer. I prepared for my medical school for 3 years, and I got through my medical school as well. But along the lines, I think my father was the one who started realizing that, if he has to compare my clinical acumen to my logical acumen, I think my logical acumen is heavier in terms of just weights. So he suggested that why don't I look at law as a profession as well? Obviously, we came from a very traditional, conservative family with a lot of trust on, professionals and typical professions. So it was a little bit of, an upset, for my grandparents who always saw me becoming a doctor. And ILS happened because I had not even prepared or written any law school exams. And this was one which was based on just, your 12th marks and stuff. So that's how I got into ILS. My time at ILS, I would say, was a very immersive experience. It was academics, but I was also involved in a lot of extra courses, moot courts, debates. I prepared for my internships. I was leading research projects. So it was a very wholesome, immersive experience. It was pretty hectic. And I was also learning a foreign language. So, it inculcated that habit of, firstly, multitasking, secondly, maintaining a timetable, and thirdly, having a list of to-dos. So, that's from law school that I've been doing it, and it's just a habit that's been formed.
Wow. So, Tani, what's your go-to way to unwind after a long week at work?
After a long, I mean, frankly, the work week never ends for us. But whenever I get the time, I like to switch off. I like to spend time with my family and friends. I feel having a solid social circle of very close-knit friends really help you to unwind, cut off, think beyond what you're doing, get some perspective to life. So it's just then pure play and no work. And that's what I try to do whenever I get the time. Of course, if there is a longer time, then I love to travel. That's a passion.
Wow. So, suppose you had one, yeah, what do you say, 2 weeks. So, where would we travel and why?
So at any point of time, I have a list of, a bucket list ready of
Mhm.
the next place I want to explore. The last one was Italy. Of course, because of this work, some transaction that's going on. So that's not happened over the summer. So that's my next one on the bucket list. But yeah, I mean, I feel that travel is again, a very good learning experience, not only for me, but we as a family with a 10-year-old daughter. I think her perspectives
Mhm.
change, develop. She gets exposed to a lot of culture. As a family, we get exposed to different environments. We really enjoy it, whether it's the food or the art or the culture. And, we try and make our travel around all of this rather than just, making it very touristy.
So, Tani, you have visited or traveled of a work different cities in the world. Which is the favorite city and why?
I would say my favorite city is London. And
Mm.
it's very close to my heart because it's one place that I've kept going back to again and again. It's a very historical city. Again, it's a melting pot of a lot of cultures. Every time you go there, you have something new to sort of experience, I feel. I also have some family there. So
Mhm.
that was always an added one. And I think the one thing that is really, where you've worked a little bit, I think that in some ways becomes your extended home. So I trained at a Magic Circle firm in London, before I graduated. That was a fabulous experience. So in that sense, the city is quite close to my heart. Also, there's a lot of familiarity. 'Cause I've lived there, I've worked there, I've been there
Mhm.
so many times. So there's a level of familiarity, and that then that place becomes your own.
Wow. So, are there any hobbies or creative outlets you have held on to since college or school?
So I would say actually they have evolved. I would, college and school, frankly, I didn't have the time to do, anything beyond what I was doing already. So there was little time for any hobbies, frankly. But what it has extended, that interest was always there. And what it has extended to now is art and travel. So I do now take a lot of interest in art, appreciation, collection. That is one of the things I see myself doing in the future as well, to become, a curator or a collector of art. So that's one thing that is a hobby now.
Wow, different. So I'll share the episode of as I the ice breaking Rishida Sethi, and I'll share the details also. You can connect with him. He has done two things. He has created art index and he's written a book also with Denton Legal on art law.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
gallery is there. I'll take you whenever in Mumbai. I'll take you to his gallery, and he's got good
It will be a
collection
fabulous
of paintings,
experience.
sculptures, and two coffee speakers meeting, and it will be lovely and
I'm
definitely.
sure.
Because I gave him surprise because we had just planned main coffee shoot. But when we stepped in to his art gallery, so my I saw painting and sculptures. Well, let's surprise him. He was not there. His elder brother was there, and I told him, "Okay, bhai, I want to do a walk tour." So he immediately called his brother, "Okay, bhai, wherever you are, come down. Because there is a surprise for you." So he came down. He changed the painting which he wanted to showcase and the sculptures because he wanted to make it personal.
Yeah.
You should have told me, I don't know anything. Well, this comes from a divine. Some things
No,
it
I
is.
think art itself is an experience. You don't need to have any, it's in some ways, you just get captured. It's just you become captivated and then, your journey
No, no,
starts.
I'm talking about the special episode. It was not planned in my itinerary. It's just so some things in the coffee conversation that we have done, something, what do you say, spur of moment, which adds more value and becomes the speaker is surprised, and that is a close bond and becomes. Okay, by
Yeah, I'm sure it must have been fabulous.
yes. So I'll share all the special episode, sorry, main coffee and his experience sharing also. When the experience is that by the question you made me go through, and I'll start reflecting, preparing, and putting in points for what I was covered in the conversation and make my plans for the future. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm coming to that part also. Okay. So if your friends had to describe you in three words, what would it be?
I think, I mean, I don't want to sound very boisterous, but I would say the one that glitters and is indeed gold.
Wow. So, my last two questions are reflective ones. What are your plans for 2025 personally and professionally?
I think on a personal level, I think it's about, prepping a little bit now for my daughter's future. She's a gymnast as well as, now going to middle school, and, there's a whole lot of that. So I want to pay some attention to that. And on the professional front, of course, it's a full list. So it's a full list of the kind of transactions I want to do. It's a list of some key players I want to be, I want to work for, and so therefore do business development as far as they go. It is about developing my team. So I think it's the same. It can't be year by year now at this stage, but it's an evolving process. And as long as you are on an upward curve, mindfully, and at the professional front, I think that's what's important.
Wow. So, my last one is a googly one. Describe Tanvi in one line.
I think I did, right?
And that
Uh,
was from friend's viewpoint. Ah,
it's the
if
same.
speakers
I
get
think our
confused.
friends and me and my friends just think alike. So
No,
mm,
reflect and think. Okay, that was from the friend's viewpoint. Now it is your viewpoint. Okay, what do you think about yourself?
I think uh,
So
I feel
let me reframe. What would
yeah.
your daughter say about you to her friends?
That's a completely different story. My daughter will say that I am, uh, you know, a psycho lawyer who's working all the time. So that's what my daughter will say. But I think what I think about myself is
Mhm.
somebody who is on, who wants to be an evolved individual eventually. And,
Wow.
it's not just professional or personal. I want to venture into, things like spirituality, for example.
Wow.
That is something that we have been consciously trying to do for a few years now, and I want to do a little more of that. So I would look at myself as somebody who's wholesome. One aspect of that, some my life doesn't define me.
Wow. Beautiful. So let's put you in the hot seat, the rapid fire round. Your go-to comfort food,
My go-to comfort food is Chinese,
your favorite color,
black,
home cooked food or takeout.
Home cooked food.
You're a morning person or night owl?
Both. I don't sleep.
So you don't sleep, Mama. Then I won't meet you in night. Okay. A mantra you live by.
A mantra I live by is to be honest.
Wow. A best piece of advice received.
Um, कर्म करो कर्म की फिक्र मत करो.
Beautiful. Wow. Delhi winters or Mumbai monsoons?
Delhi winters.
Wow. Chai or coffee to recharge?
Coffee.
You're a coffee show.
I am not a tea drinker at all.
So you did it well, and here's your book, Legal AI 101, which will be autographed and sent to you. So, friends, watch this episode as Tani will take you to a journey while learning is very important and having a passion also because she likes to travel and now she wants to go into art appreciation. So, watch this episode and other 500 coffee speakers who are contributed through their journeys, inspiring stories. Subscribe. And if in the future, like then we visit our website or a link page, the Emerging India Forum, or connect with one of the coffee speakers, they will put in a word to have conversation over a cup of coffee. Take care. We meet with another coffee speaker and continue the conversation on different topics, different subjects. Like we have got 8 series. So we'll get what you say. One of my coffee speakers said, where you have a catalog. Another
Right.
said, but you've got a curated menu of different speakers. So thank you to all those coffee speakers who put in beautiful words and keep us inspiring. So take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.